All right, Canada, let's be honest. You guys are pretty much just nicer, funnier, more awkward versions of us. And a lot of neighbors don't get along, but we do. And it's a really nice thing. We are all pretty much brothers from another mother and sisters from another mister. And so we're allowed to give each other shit. For example, there is an old joke in the restaurant industry that says, how do you know if your table is from Canada? Because they'll tell you. Ah. And in all honesty, you could take out Canada and substitute Texas. It's the exact same joke. But welcome to the dollar CAD video. Now, why would I make a video on the dollar CAD? It doesn't really fit a category. It doesn't fit a superlative like the absolute worst pair to trade out of the 8 majors, or one of the best pairs to trade out of the 8 majors. It's kind of on its own. It has the dollar, the US dollar end of it, which makes it not great. And it also has the CAD end of the equation, which if I were to go back and probably look at my entire wins and losses, I probably take more losses on the CAD than I do anything. But when you put these two together, when you put the United States and Canada together, you get something that is a bit unique to anything else out there. Now, I will not be making a video on every single currency pair, every single combination of the 8 majors. Unless it really has something unique to it. It doesn't really need its own video. Like I'm not going to make a video on the Euro Kiwi. I don't know what I would say about that I wouldn't say about anything else. I'm going to try to go ahead and make videos on all of the most heavily traded currency pairs, but there are specific nuances to this pair that if you are aware of them, you can up your win rate on this pair a lot, especially over time. I mean, how long do you plan on trading Forex? How long do you plan on living? Another 40, 50 years, 60? That's a lot of dollar CAD trades. So every little advantage you can get here is a big one. And the more you understand this pair and what it brings to the table, the more advantageous your trading is going to be down the road. So in this video, we're going to break down the dollar CAD as a pair. We don't need to spend too much time on this, really. I know there are some of you that have found this channel because you searched USD CAD, and this probably ranked pretty well because it's a popular Forex channel. But the reason why it's a popular Forex channel is because it's a really great way to trade, and you need to start from the beginning. I'm going to put the beginner's video down below in the description. If you like what this video brings to the table, click that video too and learn how to trade our way. I think you're really going to like what you see, but a lot of things in this video are going to be concepts that we have gone over in the past, and we may lose you a little bit, but stick with us. You will still learn some things. Also, there are things to do on this pair, and there are also things to not do on this pair. I think there are people who make the same mistakes over and over when it comes to a particular part of the dollar CAD, and we need to explore that a little bit further. And then towards the end, I have a trick for you. It's going to be something you are probably not expecting, but it does relate to what we do on this channel. And it also involves me breaking my own rules, which I have just started to do and show on this channel. So get ready for that. That's all I can really say about it, but you'll just have to stick around. So we move forward. Now, the base level things you have to know about the dollar CAD. What's really great about it is, like the Aussie Kiwi, which is my favorite pair to trade unequivocally, and like the Euro Pound in a lot of ways, the economies tend to run together. This is really good because what it avoids now is some crazy up day or some crazy down day in the United States economy coming in and ruining your perfectly good technical trade. I like it when countries' economies are very close together because that's one more thing that I can't control that I don't have to worry about anymore. I'm sure there has been days where something that happened in the economy came in and screwed up the dollar CAD somewhere, but it doesn't happen that often. And even though followers of this channel might think dollar CAD is one of the worst pairs to trade overall, it's actually not, and this is one of the big reasons why. Also, what's really nice is the biggest news for both of these currencies typically come out on the same day. Non-farm payrolls and the Canadian employment report almost always come out on the same day. You will find some cases where they don't, but more often than not, they do. And what I will typically do here is something I don't do with any other currency pair. We talked in the Forex news video, which if you haven't seen that, you really, really need to. I'm going to link that down below as well. We said that if really big news is coming up for any currency that you are involved in or are thinking about trading, you need to give yourself a 24-hour buffer, a 24-hour window, meaning do not enter a trade within 24 hours of big news coming out for that currency if you are trading the daily chart, which is what we do here. I take this a little further with the dollar CAD. When I know that the big news, the big employment news for both currencies are coming out on the same day, I will give it a 48-hour buffer. If I'm looking on Wednesday and I have a really sweet dollar CAD set up, I'm going to ignore it because typically that Thursday, price is not going to move a whole lot. The chances of me entering a trade on Wednesday and having price move so much that I'm going to take my initial profit on Thursday and then be able to kind of sit out Friday is very, very low. So this is the only pair for this one reason that I will break that 24-hour rule and actually make it a 48-hour rule. I hope this makes sense to you. Make sure you have seen that video. You're really risking losing a lot of pips over time if you haven't. And then, due to one piece of fundamental analysis, that that thing we try to avoid all the time, there's something we can really take advantage of here. This is part of that little trick I told you about earlier, but we will get to that. Let's go ahead and move on from here now that we've covered kind of these base level things that make the dollar CAD unique to most other currency pairs out there. I just wanted you to know about these first. The dollar CAD really does have some uniqueness to it, and we need to know what it is before we go forward. But even though I did a podcast on this already, I think it was episode 19, if I remember, there are still a lot of traders out there, and I know because I get emails on this all the time, that still want to use oil to trade the Canadian dollar. Now, if you don't know, Canada has oceans and oceans of shitty, low-grade oil, but it is still very useful, and America uses a lot of it, and the world uses a lot of it, and so it makes up a very big portion of their economy. And you typically know when oil moves, the Canadian dollar is going to move with it. So what a lot of people will attempt to do is look at a chart of WTI crude oil, which is the oil that we have here in North America, and try to correlate it to the Canadian dollar. This is a really big mistake. I have no idea what advantage you think you are gaining by doing this, but there just is no advantage to be had here. I'll try the best I can to illustrate this to you by going to my charts. So here we are. This is a chart of WTI crude oil against the United States dollar. So you would assume that if these things correlated the way people think they do, then it would actually be inversely correlated. This should, when I show you a dollar CAD chart in just a minute, it should do the exact opposite of this chart you see right here. So you see this move down, you see the drop, the valley, and then it slowly started kind of cascading upward. All right, so we should see the exact opposite in the dollar CAD. The problem is we kind of do and we kind of don't. All right, so there is the move upward and then the peak, so pretty good so far. But then after that, you don't get this slow, even move downward, which would be the opposite of that slow moving upward move we saw here. You don't get that. Instead, you get this kind of jerky inverse head and shoulders pattern and then this thing over here. So what we can tell from this is that it pretty much did inversely correlate up until this point, and then it just didn't anymore. That's not good. That does not inspire confidence in me as a trader, because I know at any given time, it can just decide to stop doing what everybody thinks it's going to do. And I have no idea when that change is going to occur. And so this helps me absolutely zero. Now, if you want to do a direct correlation, I would say probably that WTI crude oil would correlate more to the CAD yen. But even there, you see just too many differences. Some similarities in the overall structure, but just too many differences. Like, this should have gone down a lot heavier than it did right here. This stayed pretty much even. Then you had flash crash and then right back up. Not the same. Doesn't really correlate. The only way using this chart here of WTI crude oil would ever really help me trade Forex is if I could find a way for it to either correlate or inversely correlate perfectly with something else and then have it be 1 day off, just so I could use one as a canary in the coal mine to tell me that the other one was about to move long or short. But that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anywhere. You can't really use oil to trade the CAD. You can't really use gold to trade the Aussie dollar. It just doesn't work that way. And if it did, everybody would do it. And then if everybody did it, the banks would catch on, and then it would ruin everything anyway. So overall, when it comes to oil, here's what you have to know. If you are trying to use it to trade the CAD, it's just going to make things more difficult on you. A really great system is 100 times better than any type of correlation you're ever going to find out there. So focus on that, and not about trying to get cute and use oil or gold to trade the CAD or the Aussie or anything like that. Just eliminate it. You're better off, because oil itself is really hard to figure out. I have not had any luck in 10 years trying to chart it and trying to make any kind of real profit off of it. This might change starting today. While I'm doing this video, I might as well just announce it now. I have something that seems to work really well, and I'm going to forward test it out starting today, March 13th, 2019. And we'll go ahead and track it and check out the results at the end of the year. And if they are good, then I will share that with you. And that will give you one more thing to trade. We're already going to tack on metals onto our Forex trading. And if we can tack on anything else down the road, that just makes it even better. But that book has not been written yet. But I just want to go ahead and put it out there that I am putting in my very first oil trade today. And wish me luck. We'll let it run. If it doesn't work, no big deal. If it does, that benefits all of us. But even if I do find something good, I'm not going to use it to trade the Canadian dollar because the correlations just aren't helpful enough. It doesn't give me what I need. I need this magical combination of one chart being a day early to the party. And even if I had that, people would figure it out over time, and the big banks would too, and everything would just be ruined anyway. So please, all of you, ignore oil and don't even go this direction at any point in time. So now, it is time to tell you about that little cool trick I was mentioning earlier. This is not for the instant gratification crowd. This is a long-term thing, but this is something that so far has not lost one time. So, I have a friend that I've known through trading. His name is Terry. He's this Canadian guy who made his money in Canadian mining stocks and also trading Forex. Now, because his name is Terry and he's from Canada, I always think of Terrence from Terrence and Philip. So every time I correspond with him, this is the picture I get in my head. I've never met him in person. He probably doesn't look like this. But he is one of the sharpest traders I have ever met. And he's to the point now to where he is more of a Forex investor. Now, do you guys remember the last time I said the word Forex investor? It was in the fundamental analysis video. He uses fundamental analysis for this little trick I am about to show you. Therefore, one of the few times you'll ever see me do this, I am using fundamental analysis here. I can't even believe I just said that. But as you saw in the Dead Markets video last week, this is all about me breaking my own rules every once in a while. Now, I don't want you guys to ever start breaking the rules. You need to put in years of experience in the system you have before you start finding these little random cracks that you can exploit this in. But sometime late in 2013, Canada had some provincial elections, something. It wasn't an election for prime minister or anything like that. So it seemed pretty innocuous at the time. But I got an email from Terry saying it is officially time to fade the Canadian dollar, which means it is time to trade against the Canadian dollar every chance I can get. And he said the best way to do this was probably going to be the dollar CAD. He said, I don't know how long it's going to take. The dollar CAD is probably still going to be choppy at times like it always is, but when it moves, it's going to move up and it's going to move in spurts. So be ready for it. And I am not one to go against what this man says. He has been right so many times, and he plays in a sandbox nowadays that I don't ever play in. So I trust his word indefinitely on this. He is one of the sharpest traders I have ever met. So I thought about it, and I'm like, all right, how am I best going to exploit this information, assuming it's right? So I came up with something that I have shown you already, and I'm right about to show you again. And it worked the first time I tried it, or I tested it without any money behind it. And then every other time it happened again, I made sure I was there and I actually traded it, and I never lost. And it is a situation that is about to come up again. So let's check this out. You guys remember the MACD video? I hope you do. It was a good little video. It showed how the MACD was really not the best thing in the world. It's not as great as people make it out to be, but it's not terrible. It does some really good things. In particular, it can be used as two of the three types of trend indicators that we talk about on this channel. A zero-line cross and a two-lines cross, which is really neat for one indicator to do that. But the best part about it, if you watch that video, the one real takeaway from that entire video is the continuation trade. That moment where, for example, if you're going long, if both lines are above zero and they cross upward, that is a continuation trade. That is you entering a trade in a trend that is already happening. Continuation trades were some of the biggest trades I've ever had. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm going to take the indicator that I use for continuation trades and plug it in, and I am only going to take continuation trade longs on the dollar CAD, because from what Terry said, they should be happening, and when they happen, they're going to happen big. So I want to be a part of that. And by golly, it worked like a charm. Let's go take a look. And here we are on the dollar CAD weekly chart. Yes, VP is on the weekly chart for the first time ever. I don't think I'll ever do this again. But again, like I said, it's all about breaking our own rules here for this one particular trade. Now, I think the elections happened kind of right around here. Oh, I'm sorry. It's further back. 2013. So yeah, so I was able to track this move right here. Now, this is a continuation trade because both of these lines, I'm on the MACD, by the way. I'm not going to show you the actual continuation indicator that I use, but this also worked perfectly just with the regular old MACD. So you can sit there and do this too, even if you don't have a continuation indicator that you like to use right now. Just plug in the MACD, because what happened here was both lines are above zero and they crossed up. That is, by definition, a long continuation trade. And you can see that if you entered right here, right where it crossed, that was a nice trade. Went over 500 pips before even crossing back down. You probably got a good 450, 500 pips in that trade all alone. And then it happened again over here. You can see even though it dipped down, by the time the lines crossed above each other, it was over the zero. So that would have been right about here, and that was a great trade. And then 2015 happened. And right as I was making money on this new little trick that I learned, I got another email from Terry right as the Prime Minister election finished. And all his email said, and I'll never forget this, I still have it, it just said, step on the gas. Meaning, now look, we are politically agnostic here at No Nonsense Forex. Political comments are not welcome in the YouTube comment section. This is your sanctuary away from that. But we pay attention to things if it actually helps us make money, and this is one of those things. He said step on the gas because Canada just elected a prime minister that didn't really know a whole lot about money. And so I remember that, and then later, when the American election came along, he sent me another email that said lean on the gas, which means take it even further. Now, I disagreed with him on this. I'm like, look, Trump's going to want a weaker dollar, but I have learned from the past, do not go against what Terry says. So I kept right on what I was doing, but I put a little more money behind it this time, and I said, all right, I'm going to keep looking for dollar CAD longs on this same method of what we're doing. So let's see how that turned out. So on the next trade, it happened right here, and this was a small win. I do remember it. You'd have actually entered right after this candle here. And it peaked somewhere in the 400s. I think the ATR at this point was like 260, something like that. So that was a small win. And then you come over to this next one right here. And this was a win too. Even though that's a big candle, that moved. So all through 2015 and even into 2016, we got nothing but wins on that. Now, things did drop. The US dollar did get cheaper, as I suspected. So we were kind of both right on this. So there really wasn't any trade to be had here for a while until this point right here in 2017. Now, I admit it had been so long since one of these trades occurred that I forgot to take it. But it was a win. Definitely. And then you didn't see it again until just recently, and thankfully I remembered this one, because these trades just do not lose. And guess what? Maybe, just maybe, there's another one of these coming up soon. So have this ready, because even though it's a long-term type trade, it doesn't really have anything to do with what we do here. It was really nice having these trades go on in the background and just constantly giving me money as I was going about my normal trading. I mean, why would you not want this? And I'm sure this is famous last words. As soon as I show it to everybody, it's going to fail. But if you are putting money behind this, put very little money behind this. But just know that this is something when you take fundamentals that make sense long-term and are able to combine them with what we already do, every once in a while there are little openings that you can exploit, and so far, I can say with confidence, this has been one of those little areas. I'm really grateful for it. And I hope you are able to extract value from this. If not right now, sometime down the line when you also find some kind of fundamental thing that you are so sure is going to come true down the road that you can actually start taking advantage of it yourself. I know people that think the euro is going to completely fall apart. They say there are so many more people that want to, there's so many more countries that want to leave the euro than want to join the euro. It was a bad idea from the start, and things can only go downhill. Well, good. Here's what you do. You take what I just showed you here and you flip it and you go short on the euro, whatever currency you think is actually going to be strong. If you really feel that, you can make money off this if you are correct. So give it a try and test your little theory out and see if it actually pays. But just know, beyond this, what I said before still stands. Do not use fundamental analysis. Do not use the weekly chart. This is the one little exception that I will throw out there. And this still may not be for everybody. But I thought while we're talking dollar CAD, I would share this with you today. But in conclusion, traders, just understand the nuances of the dollar CAD. There's probably more to it than you thought there was. And for those reasons, I think this is a video that really had to be made. But just keep those correlations out of your trading, please. Stop looking for them. Stop looking for them amongst other currencies. I get a lot of questions about that too. Just take them out of your trading altogether. You're going to be much, much better off. And anytime you see little opportunities like this and you know they work and you've tested it, feel free to exploit them. I mean, that's why we do what we do. Again, do not deviate from your system until you have put a lot of time into your system. But just know going forward, that every once in a while you can break from it if you have something that you are almost certain is going to work out long term. Now, I found this little wrinkle here. It was the only wrinkle I've really found that has worked in 10 years. So this isn't going to happen a whole lot. But when it does, it can be a good 1,000, 2,000 pips in your pocket that wasn't there before. And if watching a 27-minute video now can put a couple thousand pips in your pocket down the road, well, then this was time well spent, wasn't it? But for those of you checking out the channel for the first time, this is how the channel is, man. We go over things that nobody goes over. You need to be a part of this. Subscribe and hit the bell. Don't miss anything. Go to that beginner's video if you want to know more about what we do here. This type of trading has changed people's fortunes in a very, very short amount of time. It is a much easier and much more stress-free way of trading the Forex market. And I, in turn, will have new videos for you every Thursday and the new podcast for you every Monday. But I will tell you this, one thing all of those successful traders had is they have put in the work. The system takes a lot less work than other systems do, but it still takes work. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. So get to it, traders. I'll see you Monday. Go get it.